It was an interview on a particular model or paradigm that Dr. Edward Close and I have developed originally. We described TDVP, or triadic dimensional distinction vortical paradigm, vortical being like vortices, V-O-R-T-I-C-A-L, paradigm. We originally described this in about 2011, and gradually it amplified and became the first edition of our book, Reality Begins with Consciousness, a paradigm shift that works, in 2012. And subsequently there were numerous other editions until we got to the 5th edition, which just took another 2.5 years in 2014. And after that, there were some major advances. For example, we described the phenomenon of gimmel, which basically could be sometimes discussed as a third substance or third process. Basically, we realized there was something else, and there had to be something else besides mass and energy. So gimmel is massless and energyless. However, without gimmel, nothing in our universe or in our cosmology exists. And you've seen how, in fact, gimmel correlates very strongly with dark energy and with dark matter, even in the cosmos. And strangely enough, we've been able to demonstrate gimmel is linked up with that dark energy, linking up with the electron, and dark matter, linking up with the proton and the neutrons in the atom. And this sounds quite impossible, because how can 95.1% of reality, which is what the dark matter and dark energy supposedly is, fit into the remaining 4.9%? But you've got to understand that we're not talking about 3 dimensions of space and 1 dimension in time. We're talking about a 9-dimensional, finite, quantized, volumetric reality. What that means in English is that there are 9 dimensions that are extending across, but in 9 dimensions. And this explains all sorts of things, like when we talk about rotation and we talk about spin. In conventional physics, we talk about half spin or 3/2 spin, or all sorts of variants, which are theoretical. If you're rotating through 9 dimensions, and you're going from dimensions 1 to 9, those work out at 4 360-degree spins. It's an example of everything being quantized, everything being unified, one component as opposed to multiple components. So we were very excited with Reality Begins with Consciousness, and we extended this, and we thought there'd be a lot of debates and people saying this is refuted this way or that way. We've not had anyone being able to refute our model at all. It just extends on. And a lot of what I did not speak about in Hawaii related to some fascinating work with, of course, neutrons and protons are linked up with so-called up and down quarks. And that we did not discuss. But with the up and down quarks, even there is the link up with gimmel. And this is why we were talking about true units, TRUE, triadic rotational units of equivalence, which fit in mass and energy and gimmel in every one of these components. Now, what's the relevance of this? Well, I mentioned the relevance is that ultimately, if you were to take the most impressive way of calculating out the different components of the atom through the Large Hadron Collider, the LHC, if you had to do this, and you had to then take the mass energy equivalence in the Large Hadron Collider of basic particles like the electron, and you give that a unitary equivalence of 1, and the proton and the neutrons. What is amazing is when you use this triadic rotational units of equivalence, the figures are identical. It means this is not just a guess. It means that in practice this really works. And in practice what's fascinating is, for example, the Nobel laureate Murray Gell-Mann was very much involved with this kind of particle physics and with gluons, the glue that puts the protons and the neutrons together. The trouble is the gluons are only in those protons and neutrons and are in this 3s1t, this three-dimensional space, one point in time fabric. And when you start calculating out mathematically, it doesn't work. It needs to be 9-dimensional, and we need to include electrons. And gluons, as they were called, is far more than just the glue that is linked up with these protons and neutrons, and with these quarks. It is actually, we think, a gimmel, and this rotates through the whole 9-dimensional fabric. So I wanted to just add to you this little tour that we had done, that Sherry Kane had done so well, and Dr. Leonard Horowitz in Hawaii. And here I am based in my office in Seattle. So thank you so much.